And welcome back to the Indiana State Coaches Show, delivered to you by 7th and Elm Bar and Grill here on this Martin Luther King Day Monday. And we begin with the Indiana State basketball program and head coach Greg Lansing. Coach, great weekend. 2 wins on the road against Illinois State, and no matter in this league, wherever you go, it's going to be a grind, and to come back with 2 straight wins, that's an accomplishment that is definitely worth celebrating.
Yeah, it is celebration. We're celebrating Martin Luther King Jr. Day today. The team will be watching his great speech with our video today with our breakdown in Illinois State. But winning is hard. Winning on the road is even harder, and being able to get back-to-back games like that, really a good boost for us. As a staff, you feel like going in, hey, we need to get these, and you don't want to look too far ahead with the guys. You're trying to go one at a time. And I thought the guys did a great job of handling that. Now we still making our mistakes. We get a lot of things we have to continue to clean up, and hopefully we can do some of that in the next couple of days before Evansville gets in here.
Coach, we'll get into the Illinois State series and your team more here in just a moment and preview what's upcoming. But today is Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and as you just touched up on, and with where we are at as a country and a nation right now. Racial injustices, of course, have really come back to the forefront and has been a conversation I know that has been going on a lot longer than just over this last year, where it's maybe been magnified. How have you tried with your team to have those conversations? You mentioned you're going to be watching Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech later on today and addressing those with your team, but also making sure it's not one of those things you just address once. It's an ongoing conversation that you guys have.
Well, that's the way it has to be. I think as white people, sometime you hear it, you hear the voices, you hear what's going on, you hear the injustices, but then we don't want to hear it repeatedly. But as a white male that coaches a lot of young black men, and especially in the game of basketball, that conversation has to be ongoing. And I'm personally going to make sure I do that, as well as with our young men and the people around us, talking about today, talking about the Black Lives Matter movement and just what it speaks for. Really been some good stuff out there talking about why they kneel. There's just a lot of good conversations that have to continue. This isn't something you listen to and go, okay, there's some of this there, and then we don't want to hear it anymore. This has to be an ongoing conversation. I know myself, I'm honored to be selected on the E-Racism committee with a lot of great coaches and athletic directors. We're doing what we can there. And it's something, even when I'm out of coaching, that I'm going to make sure is at the forefront, because you can't do enough. I mean, it's not possible to do enough. So doing more is always good, and listening, having tough conversations, having productive conversations. And just where our country is right now, it's just my heart really goes out to the young people, and it's not just the guys on our team; it's people everywhere. These people they're having to wear masks every day and everything they do, and then they see on people, terrorists storming the Capitol. I mean, it's difficult. It's difficult, and I feel for the young people these days.
You mentioned the movement you've joined, the E-Racism movement, which we'll talk about in the broadcast on Wednesday on our ESPN platform that we have. But really, more than just that, you kind of hinted why you wanted to join it. But maybe throughout these conversations, Coach Lansing, as you just obviously described, you and I both being white, we haven't gone through any of those instances that a lot of folks we know and have gotten to know and love as our own family have gone through. What's been the biggest thing you've learned over the last year that maybe you didn't quite understand, or maybe wrap your mind around, that now you clearly do, and you're doing everything you can personally to try to bring attention to it?
That's a great question, Luke. I just think for me, it's enough is enough. Things have to change. I mean, it can't. A black people or any person of race should not have to feel like they feel at times. And I heard LeBron just say, "Well, we just ran from police." I mean, you shouldn't. Young people shouldn't have to feel that way. Kareem as a father of two young black men, and he's going to have to deal with that stuff. He's talking to him about different things, and it's just like I said, the way I feel is enough, and it's got to be an ongoing conversation, and not just conversation. People need to act. People need to act, and as a white person, we have to check each other. We have to confront each other when there's things like that going on. And again, it's a daily thing that think that has to continue to change.
Well, I thought it was very important to really touch up on that, especially being our first conversation here on Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Yes,
Before we really
thank you, Luke, for doing that.
yeah, before we get into some basketball here. But this is the first time we've had a show since the Loyola series as well. So we'll start there and then kind of work our way through the Illinois State series. First game, again, short turnaround. I know both teams really at such a disadvantage when you think of you plan all week getting ready for one team, and then at the very end you got to flip it and get ready. And even though all of the teams within this league know each other so well, that's a challenge. But to come out right out of the gate, coach, in a game that you kind of mentioned at halftime, guys didn't feel really great about where you were. And then you buckled down and you found a way to win such a gutsy game against such an experienced team in Loyola, who's going to be right there battling with Drake to win this league.
Yeah, and I think across the country, the more veteran teams, the Loyolas, the Drakes, the Missouri States, I mean, those veteran teams are going to have an advantage. Now, going in, flipping our schedule like that, Loyola is preparing to go in there to play Drake, who is undefeated. So they had to do the same thing we did. So the basketball wasn't always pretty by either team in that, but I thought our guys really competed hard against a very, very good basketball team. I mean, look at Loyola last night. They beat UNI by 44 or something like that. It's just they are so hard to score against. They're so well schooled defensively. When you got Cameron Krutwig back there holding down the fort, but what a great win for us to coming into that to have to play Loyola on the short turnaround. I wish we could have followed it up on the second game, but give a lot of credit to Loyola, and most of the credit to Loyola's defense and just how good they were. We counted a lot. We counted, I think, 13 missed shots at the rim, and we got to be stronger in our finishes. It's something we talk about with the guys. Thought we're a little better with it against Illinois State, but it's a very physical game, and you got to be able to finish against a good defense.
And I felt, another emphasis from the Loyola series was, and give credit to them. They're so good defensively.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know the number of shot clock violations they forced? Really, it seemed all weekend, but specifically that second game. And that made a point of emphasis, I know, within your group heading into the Illinois State series, that you threw in some things like, look, we have to get better at execution in late game, or in not late game, but late shot clock situations.
Yeah, I mean, and it's on us too. I knew Loyola does a great job, but you should never have something like that happen. And when it comes down to the last 10 seconds, we have good enough basketball players for them to go get a decent shot, and that's what they need to do. We've talked to them about it. Our best players need to step up in those situations and make plays. But you do give Loyola a lot of credit for that, but that's on us too. I take that personally, and that has to change. And it was again, it was much better against Illinois State, and your best players need to make plays.
Well, let's just say I don't say that your nickname is the Doctor of Analytics. I know you're not huge on huge on the analytical side. I mean, you guys use it. I know it's a big part of your program, but there's more things that you focus on. But one of the areas that I thought was astounding that you brought up with your group heading into Friday was you had on the season up to that point, you had 4 offensive putbacks that went for a basket. And
Yeah.
I think in the first game against Illinois State, and if you know the number, you can correct me, I think you had 2 that game on Saturday, already half your total that you had all year. Why did that irk you? Why did that stand out so much? And why you really wanted to bring that as a point of attention with your team?
That's an effort stat. That's why, and Jake was dominant on the offensive glass last year, and he's been in foul trouble so much. I don't blame him for being hesitant on that. But Trey, and we're talking about getting an offensive rebound and scoring it off of it. It's not like we haven't been getting some offensive rebounds, but those are the backbreakers. and game changers that we need to have. Now I'll give our guards a little bit of an excuse because we've been sending 3 guards back on defense to not give up transition, but the forwards and the bigs that are in there need to do it more. Need to go get us an extra possession because they are so valuable.
You know, that Illinois State series, I know Dan's team is really, really young right now, missing, as we just talked about, why Loyola is so good, Drake's so good. They got so much veteran experience. And you challenge your team to be the more mature team this weekend. Did you feel you got that? I mean, obviously 2 wins, that's what you want. But even further than that, did you feel your team was the more mature team and they met that challenge?
Yeah, I did, and we have had some talks, and they gotta allow us to coach them hard, and they gotta coach each other hard. And I thought Trey and Jake do that very well. Coop does, in huddles. They have to coach each other because the better teams are always player led. When you get into February and March and those things. So I did feel like we played like the more mature team. Our veteran players, our leaders did. Now we still, especially did. I think we're up 66-51 with 4 something left, and didn't look like we'd ever seen any pressure. But for the most part, I thought we did, and we'll learn from. We'll watch that film today and go over it and learn from it as well.
I know you'll get into it more with your team when you go back, but and you initially, I know you said it after the game, talking with Todd, you just felt, and I think even game 1 a bit, there were moments where you're like, you got control of it and you think you can blow it open. And some of that, give respect to Illinois State too, that they had a response and they came back and fought. But I know even more so, probably the ending of the game yesterday is one that you'll probably have a lot of coaching points with your guys and wanting to clean up those final couple minutes. It made it probably a little bit more stressful for you and
Yeah.
the staff than probably it should have been.
Well, you take that personally as a former point guard and a coach. You want your to take care of the basketball and just get fouled and win that game by 20 something going away instead of like what we did and the way we're shooting free throws. We need to be more careful with the ball and the guys that made mistakes. It's things that we talk about in the huddles, talk about against the press. They certainly didn't do it. So with the positives and the negatives that we'll watch today on that, we're going to watch that last 4 minutes with the guys because we did enough to hang on to win. We didn't let it get away from us, but certainly you want to finish that one off better.
Coach, before we talk about Kobe Barnes, who will be our player spotlight today, and talk with Kobe and kind of the last knot here on last talking point with Illinois State over the weekend. And it's kind of, I know, been something you've harped on specifically with your point guards the last couple of weeks. And of course, it's taking care of the basketball. A lot of the turnovers I know has come from that position. Julian, we've talked about trying to get his confidence back a bit. Tobias, you started twice over the weekend, a little bit more of a scoring threat. But also at those times he's had turnover issues too. Is there anything that, I know there is things you point out to him, but what are the biggest things you point out to Tobias and Julian specifically, because they get the majority of the time at that point guard spot as you're trying to work Cam, I know, back in after being out for some time?
Yeah. The first game against Illinois State, we had with our 3 point guards, we had 1 assist, and that was at the end of the game, and 9 turnovers. And that's, inexcusable. Looking at the stat sheet here, Julian and TJ both were 3-1, 3 assists to 1 turnover in the second game. And that's what you need to do. I mean, if we don't turn the ball over, we're going to score because we have enough guys that can make baskets and do good things on the offensive end. So there's simple plays to be made. You're looking at the end of the game down the stretch there. If they're pressing and they're going to come to you with double team, somebody's got to be open, and it's on the other guys to shorten the passes, which you could probably hear me screaming on the broadcast to shorten the pass and go meet the pass. But you can't over dribble against stuff like that. And as we continue to improve on it, you look at, we haven't had near the assists. So we've been harping on that. Make a play for somebody else, get somebody else an easy one, because of the way people guard us, we're going to be able to do that. Jake had 5 assists, basically all in the second half and no turnovers. And he was diming up people. So that has to continue to improve if we want to continue to get better on the offensive end.
Let's talk about Kobe. Kobe's a guy that this year both of us really excited about. A big reason was of how good he looked really in your practices leading into the season, and then boom, he sprains his ankle, a severe sprain that kept him out. And it seems like ever since then he's been trying to get back to where he was. Obviously, he's a guy that you've been able to rely on, and you've been able to throw him into a little bit more rotations recently. What's the biggest thing right now with Kobe that stands out? And maybe we're trying to get him back to where you guys, I know we're still really high on him. I'm not trying to say you
Yeah.
aren't,
Yeah.
but to where, man, I mean, in practices leading into the season, I mean, there were days where Kobe was the best guy on the floor.
Well, he was terrific, and I worked as hard on Kobe as I have any guy that we've recruited. He was somebody I really wanted. I think he's a special young man. He's a really good teammate, and he's going to be a very good player here. He is a good player here right now. And like as you said, going into it, we lose Calix, and then Kobe, who was playing outstanding in practice, has a bad injury, and that you can be a little tentative when you come back. And he's gradually getting there. I thought the first game against Illinois State, he really helped us, and he's been thrown in there a lot too because Jake in his foul trouble. But Kobe, as he gets more time, will continue to get better and help us. And one stat, you talk about these analytics that I don't always do, but Jake Odom gave it to me that Kobe's when he's on the floor, our team plus minus has been better. So that's saying something, the type of player he is. And I'm hard on him. He's one of those guys you feel bad when you get after him, but he and I are locked in from way back when we started recruiting him. So I expect a lot out of him, and I think he expects a lot out of himself.
We'll talk with Kobe Barnes right after this short break, and we'll be back to talk about the Evansville Purple Aces with head coach Greg Lansing when we return. You're watching the 7th and Elm Bar and Grill Coaches Show, delivered to you by our friends at 7th and Elm Bar and Grill. Welcome, everybody, back to the Indiana State Coaches Show. Now it's time. Everyone just saw Greg Lansing. They like seeing Coach and hearing from Coach, but it's now time to talk to Kobe Barnes, or other known as C. Bands, as what we know him as. Is that right? C. Bands?
Yeah,
that's what you like
name.
to go by? That's your name, right? Yeah. I could figure that. Kobe, I got to figure after 2 wins over the weekend, man, things got to be feeling pretty good for you and the guys.
Yeah, for sure. Getting back in the win column, seeing a couple wins back to back. It's really uplifting for the team, really uplifting for our morale. We always knew we could win, but just seeing it happen again, it's real big for us.
Take us through your season at this point, because your season, talking with Coach, you were honestly at times heading into the year the best guy on the court. You were having a really good preseason and really good practices, and then all of a sudden, boom, you have that severe ankle injury about a week or two before we started, and actually may have been in game week of Purdue, if I remember right. It was close around that time, and you just had to work yourself back. What was that like for you? Just take us through what the preseason was like. It seemed like you were at the condition you wanted to be, and then had a minor setback.
I mean, preseason was a lot of fun. This summer I went into off season. I was like, I'm just gonna go out and work as hard as I can, and not let what anybody's telling me or anybody saying about me affect me in any way. So I went out. I was working out 2 or 3 times a day. Conditioning with my mom. My mom, she played high level volleyball, and she was putting me through like air jumping courses that she used to do and air conditioning that she used to do. And while I was at home during quarantine, and I worked out with a guy named Kevin Lannon. He's a doctor, a sports doctor back home, and with the physical of jumping and getting faster, and then just working out red basketball wise too. I was working out, getting a ridiculous amount of shots up, and then heading into season. I mean, it was the day before the first day of practice whenever I sprained my ankle, and I felt like I always have a lot of confidence in myself. I felt like I was one of the better players before at all times, and just getting hurt, it was a minor setback, like you said. I mean, I still have the confidence in myself, and I feel like my teammates and my coaches still have confidence in me. And I just have to get those shots that I missed in that 4 week span. I have to get those shots back because I couldn't shoot the ball, couldn't touch the ball for those 4 weeks. And, just trying to work back into being in that shape. And finally, I feel like I've gotten back into the physical condition. I just need to start making my shots again, and that comes with.
You mentioned how it's coming for you, Kobe. All those situations that you've been through, and last year being a role guy when you had, ironically, Evansville coming up here on Wednesday. You were the lone guy that made a three in the game last year at Evansville and Ford Center to help kind of spearhead that win. But you've been an energy guy off the bench, and you've also have had to play a little bit more because, Jake's been getting into a little bit of foul trouble, and that's obviously allowed a guy like you to kind of step in there and get a majority of the playing time. Where have you grown the most this year, and where do you feel that you're challenging yourself more so for you inside yourself, or where you want to see yourself continue to grow?
I feel like just trying to be more mentally prepared for whenever my time does come. Whenever coach calls my name off the bench, and just being able to come in and not let it be a missed beat whenever I come in the game, because coming off the bench is hard to be, especially to be 100% there mentally all the time. Especially sometimes whenever, like, before I came to college, I don't remember the last time I came off the bench. So coming in and just accepting my role and trying to be a star in my role and do whatever it takes to help my team win. I feel like I don't care about the shots, the minutes. I just want to see my team, my guys succeed. So just growing and maturing into that mindset and doing whatever it takes to win, whether I'm playing 25 minutes or 5 minutes. And it doesn't, the minutes of shots don't matter.
Well, one of the things I always love about you is your honesty. And, when we were chatting before the season in a video that obviously we sent out at all of our social media, one of the things you're first and foremost always proud to say, I'm a mama's boy. I am the biggest mama's boy you'll ever meet. You mentioned your mom, Jackie, of course, being a really good volleyball player back in her day at Louisville. I know this is a loaded question, but where from the athletic side, just from the competition side, do you feel your mom has really helped you out the most?
Oh, I mean, she's always pushed me to be my best. She's always believed in me whenever times aren't going well for me or everything seems grim. She's always there. She's always been that backbone. And I know at bare minimum, I always have one person in my corner. And she's always pushing for me. She's always fighting for me. I mean, she's been there forever. And that's one thing I could never repay her for. It's just her level of honesty. Because she's not going to sugarcoat it. If I don't go play well, she's going to tell me I didn't play well. She's going to tell me what I need to do to fix it. Or she's always said, whenever things don't go good, it's always you can either quit or go get better. So I feel like she kind of instilled that work ethic in me from whenever I started playing. And it's got me a far way.
Kobe, there may not be a specific moment, so this may not be like a fair question to ask you, but as you kind of talked about, when you were in high school, of course, you were the main focal point of your team at Floyd Central and had the basketball in your hands a lot. Of course, you get here, and there are many other talented teammates that you have, and you have a certain role. What was maybe, I don't want to say a low point for you here, but what was it about maybe the low point that made you readjust and know that you were able to improve your game and be better and be able to thrive in the role that you are now in?
low point, I would say, was first game last year against Dayton. Whenever I came in, and I was still in the mindset of I need to go get mine. I need to go get mine. And it was I went and played 4 minutes, and I was just shocked. I was shook. I didn't know what to do because I never like the last time I played 4 minutes, I was like 4 years old. So it was just adjusting my mind to be, it might not be your time right now. You just got to go out and do your thing and play as hard as you can whenever you're out there because you're going to get an opportunity. And whenever the opportunity presents itself, you got to go out and make most of it. So that, and then going into the summer, it was I'm going to work so hard that nobody can question what I've done over the summer.
Well, the other thing that nobody can question is your TikTok fame. You are this is very special. Normally when Kobe is seen on video, it is in quick spurts. This can't go on TikTok because it's so long of a long form interview that Kobe Barnes has graciously allowed me to talk to. What's your favorite TikTok? Do you have a favorite TikTok dance? Is there any tips that you can give people who want to get maybe more involved in TikTok?
I got a couple of answers to that. My favorite TikTok, me and Julian make a lot of them together. If you've ever seen TikTok,
we know. Yeah.
It's at Kobe, by the way. I got one of the cool names that just got my name because it's not very common how people spell it, but it's at Kobe if you're trying to follow it. And me and I like to do lip syncing ones because I'm pretty good at lip syncing. But tips. I didn't want to listen to the people who were already famous before. They said post 3-4 times a day. I was like, no way I'm doing that. But I started doing it. And then one day I went to sleep and I woke up and one video had like 60,000 views. And I'm like, oh, look at me. I'm gone. And I go to practice. I'm like, yeah, look at me. You can't tell me nothing to do that. So then I put my phone down. I go to practice. After practice, it's like 200,000 views. So it just kept going. And it got to like almost 2 million. It was at like 1.8 million views. And I got like 15,000 followers, a lot of likes off of it. And it's just one of those things where I got lucky, I guess. I don't know. I posted it late. Oh, that's another thing. You want to post your videos early in the morning before people are going to school, and especially late at night. Like, not when I say late at night, I mean like 9:30, 10 o'clock. Whenever people are starting to lay down, go to bed, because that's whenever people are most active on TikTok. So there's a few tips from 15,000 followers.
People think I'm like this social media guy and guru. You just heard pure gold from Kobe Barnes. If you really want to get involved in TikTok, I mean, I'm just disappointed you haven't made a TikTok yet in this interview. I mean, is it too quick to like can you not like do one like real quick, snag one, or are you just too focused right now?
I thought about it, but
oh man,
I don't really like to intermingle my businesses,
It's the excuse train. Is what I really thought Kobe would do that slow motion one.
My slow-mos are crazy. You were in that one. You were in one of them.
That's why I brought it up.
Yeah.
I was going to say
slow motions are crazy.
It's pretty or brazy, as I think what Julian would probably say, and
he's a weirdo.
He's a little bit of a goofball. Let's actually get back to basketball here to close out our conversation, Kobe. Evansville Wednesday, of course. Then you got Southern Illinois right after that, Monday, Tuesday next week. But first and foremost, it's Evansville. As a player, because you go through it, I just film you guys, I broadcast you guys. How do you feel on a Monday after playing 2 straight games and you got a game in 2 days, on Wednesday?
I mean, last night we celebrated. It was on the bus ride home and in the live room. We celebrated. It was the first sweep of the year. So, I mean, we kind of let that sink in. But today, it's log back in for Evansville. They're a tough team. They beat some pretty good teams, and they're ahead of us in the Valley right now. So we got to knock them off. Got to win this game on Wednesday, and we have practice today. We're going to be locked in, focused on what we need to do to beat these guys, and then after we beat them, we're going to go play Southern Illinois. We're going to do the same thing, just lock in and do whatever it takes to win.
Well, I can tell you this, C-Bands, let's have a victory TikTok on Wednesday. I think that's because you know what? It'll be late at night. You know, I think it'll be, to follow your guidelines. Just saying. Now, there's business to take care of prior to that TikTok, you know, but I think it'd be pretty good. I'm just saying.
I don't think you've lied before. So.
Well, especially with our guy, Kobe Barnes. Kobe, I know, you know, there's things you continue to want to clean up, but man, we're proud of you. You're having a great year, and keep striving along, and look forward to seeing you play on Wednesday against Evansville.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Once again, for C-Bands, we'll be back with Coach Lansing right after this short break. You're watching and listening to the Indiana State Coaches Show, delivered to you by 7th and Elm Bar and Grill. Head Coach Greg Lansing back to preview the upcoming week with Evansville, then of course Southern Illinois next week on the early turnaround. When you think back to next week, Coach, but really our conversation is just going to be strictly on the Purple Aces here on Wednesday. And you know, people may want to go, well, now you're kind of back to a typical schedule. Well, not really, because you just got done playing 2 games, and then you got a Wednesday game, and then you got to lead into Monday, Tuesday next week with Southern Illinois. But I think what a turnaround Coach Licklider has done at Evansville already. And of course, an extremely tough situation last year. He actually was not the interim coach when you first met here in Holman Center. He was the second time when you went down to Evansville and had to fight for that win, which it's never easy going to Ford Center and getting a win. What's impressed you most about what Coach Licklider's done in year 2? Now that he's had a full off season, because I think people forget, you know, they went over last year. I know they don't remember that they went over in the league. They remember that very well. And they've swept UNI. They split with Southern Illinois, split with Illinois State. This is a much improved Evansville team.
Oh yeah, I mean, Coach Licklider and his staff do a great job, just like everybody else in this league. I mean, you better be on it, because everybody else is. And I have had a chance to watch them, basically because they played Illinois State, so I watched both of those games. You know, locked in on Illinois State, but they are better. They are better, and he's got his type of a team. They can spread you out, and they run good motion, good sets, guys that can make 3-pointers, and like a lot of the teams in this league, they play smart. They're not going to beat themselves. So here after we're done with this, I'll lock in on Evansville. Staff have been talking about it, and we'll be ready. It is a short turnaround, but yeah, you talk about that. It's a regular schedule if you only play 1 game, but you play 2, and then you have to have a short turnaround. And today is going to be a lot of mental stuff and just rest. But Wednesday's huge. Wednesday's huge, and your in-state rival coming in here in your building, and it's a game we need to win.
You mentioned in-state rival, and this is the longest tenured series out of anybody Indiana State has played. And you know, for someone like me, you know, this is year 4 for me now here at Indiana State, and kind of still learning about some rivalries and some things that go on here at ISU. You've been here now, you know, 11 years. What's this rivalry mean to both Indiana State, Evansville, to both these programs, and how important this game is? You know, it's unfortunate we obviously can't have as many fans as we normally would, because I think both teams would be sending a lot of people in the Holman Center on Wednesday.
I remember when Kareem was playing at Evansville, my first time here, you know, and going in there during my first tenure here, and remember the Menser Wren, Nate Green teams and the battles we'd have with those. So, you know, Jim Cruz, how unbelievable coach before Marty, and then Marty, who's a good friend, just an unbelievable coach, and had him a buzzer beater by UNI away from getting in the NCAA tournament. So a lot of games, never easy. You know, if you get a chance to win one going away, and there's been I think we've had a couple of those with us, but it always just seems to be like such a grind. And I remember the tournament, NCAA tournament team, Odom hits a game winner to beat Evansville in the first round, you know, and just how much of a struggle it always is. 2 good teams fighting like crazy.
Coach, I know a lot of it always comes back onto your team, and that's really what your message was to your group as well over the weekend. It's about us, and it's about what we have to do to get better. As you turn that, what are the things you're trying to do really today, Tuesday, before you get back to Wednesday? And like you said, I mean, it is the elephant in the room that a lot of teams are going to have to be going through right now here towards the end. Is a lot of games in a short amount of time.
Yeah, it's you got to be a mature team, and we do have guys that have played a lot of basketball, but we also have these new guys that with freshmen and fifth year seniors that didn't play last year. We're trying to do a lot of mental things and to come together as a team. What I told them yesterday, we talk about all the time. It is about us. We need to do what we do and get better at that every day, and continue to strive to become a real team. And that's what we have to do today. We have to have mental preparation. You have to understand it's not a day off. It's a mental preparation. You celebrate the win and celebrate Tyreek Key getting in the top 10 of all-time scorers. Those are great things. But then it's on to the next one. I know Evansville's going to come in here ready to go, and we're going to have to play well to win.
Coach, we'll end on this note. You of course just brought it up. Tyreek Key, top 10 career scoring. The guys who he passed were pretty good. Dwayne Clee and Carl Nix.
Cool. That was so cool to see. I text Carl, and Carl was just like, "Damn," because Carl watches all the games. Carl don't worry about his stats. He's got his jersey up, hanging in the rafters. He didn't worry about his stats, but he loves his Sycamores, and we always stay in good touch. And then, of course, Coach. I mean, he passed him another guy whose jersey is hanging up there. So Tyreek, whatever he gets, he has earned and he deserves, and he's not done yet.
And I just wanted to end it on this. And when you think of those windy roads of going to Salina, Tennessee, you had to actually print out the directions because the GPS on your phone would go out because of the signal to go into the small gym, to see that community and how they embraced him, to almost think, boom, 4 or 5 years later, here he is, just as embraced by our community, just as embraced by our fans, and to know he will end his career with many more accolades. But just for you, when you think back to the journey when it started to now seeing Tyreek doing what he's doing, just from your view and vantage point, what's it been like?
Three straight weeks I made that trip, and thank God I did. It was well worth it to get a young man like him, and that was as special of a situation that I've ever seen with anybody that we've recruited. That town worshiped that team and that player, and to see him accomplish the things and his team did there. Great people, 3,000 people in there waiting after the game for him to sign his 3,000 point deal. I mean, just unbelievable. And his name's on the sign coming into town. And that guy is, he's something special, and he'll be able to hopefully someday. I mean, he's so mad at himself for missing a shot. Hopefully he'll be able to sit back and enjoy all of his accomplishments, and hopefully we got a few more ahead of us.
No question. And you can see in the clip of when you alerted the team of Tyreek's accomplishment, Tyreek just has that look of frustration on his face because he wasn't overly thrilled. That's it. That's the greatness of Tyreek Key. Coach, always appreciate getting together with you on each and every Monday. I know it's not the same as what we are always used to, but of course, always thankful for the Hellmans and what they do for 7th and Elm Bar and Grill to still have this show go on in some format.
Yeah, shop and eat local, especially our friends at the 7th and Elm. The Hellmans are always texting, and they all went to all the games, so they hate not being able to go, but they're watching, and let's continue to take care of each other because we appreciate them.
Thank you, Coach, and good luck against Evansville this week. We'll be back with more with the Indiana State Women's Basketball Program and head coach Vicki Hall right after this short break. You're watching the Indiana State Coaches Show, delivered to you by 7th and Elm Bar and Grill. Welcome back to the Indiana State Coaches Show, which is always delivered by our friends at 7th and Elm Bar and Grill. It's now time to dive into the Indiana State Women's Basketball Program with head coach Vicki Hall, who joins us. And Coach Hall, it's been 2 weeks since we caught up with you. I know 2 series that ultimately you wanted to go in a different direction with Drake over the weekend and Illinois State at home, dating back to over a weekend ago in Holman Center. What's really been your biggest message right now to your group as you reconvene and get back for a home series with Northern Iowa this weekend?
Shooting, increasing our shooting percentage, and mental toughness. Those are our two main things. When you look at what happened with Illinois State, I thought Illinois State, I thought we had a good chance to win at least a game with Illinois State. But unfortunately, in the first game, we ended up getting very injured. Even through the two injuries we had, Caitlin Anderson was out in the first 2 minutes of the game. That hurt us tremendously. And then Berger went out in the third quarter. And then Marie went out in the fourth quarter. Berger and Caitlin went out due to injury. Marie went out due to a really poor decision. And that extraordinarily hurt our team and our chances. All three of them two for the same reason and one for another different reason. And, that was just really disappointing because that was a game. I think going into the fourth quarter, we're down 5. It's a game. And then, and so we had still lost 2 kids and we're still battling with it, but then it started to get away from us and we let our emotions get to us. And then the next game, we played without 3 of our significant players. Then we go to the next, that week, trying to get to practice and get ready for Drake, which is an amazing thing. I have so much respect for Drake. And what they do, since I've been in this league, she runs a great tight ship with a lot of discipline and a lot of continuity. And we ran into a buzzsaw. We weren't able to practice with our entire team until Wednesday. Was it Wednesday or Thursday? So that hurt us. But you know what? We lost by a ton. And the first game, I was very disappointed in our ability to execute our offense. I think what happens is Drake plays at such a high speed that our players were too busy trying to pick up their lung in one hand and run and then try to shoot with the other, because the fitness level was just completely skewed toward Drake. And that it hurt us. You look for the 2 games and we shot 22 and 29%, and they shot 58. And I don't know what it was the first game, but it was an extraordinary number. And so that was definitely the game. We couldn't stay on the court with them.
When you think of going up against such a team, you mentioned it, Jenny's done a great job at Drake. They've always been up there at the top. Missouri State recently has been able to combat them and competing for that top spot in this league. But you always learn something. What outside of those things you really laid out, what do you think your team can take away that can help you moving forward? Because when you go up against such elite competition, which you're going to continue to see as you go throughout the league, there's always something that you can take and be like, look, this is where we obviously need to bone down and get better.
Well, the 2 main things that I talked to them about was because, we had started to do some things, because once we had our break at Xavier and didn't have anything all the way until we played Loyola. And I thought we were in poor shape at Loyola as well. And we've been trying to get it back, but it's kind of hard when you're in the midst of playing and then you have back-to-back games. So you can't make them too tired, but at the same time, you've got to try to fight to get back in shape, because we had a layoff. But, there's other teams that have had layoffs too. And they, fought through. I think, it's about mental toughness. And when you're going and your coaches are asking you to do things and run and do them at a certain pace, to just do it, don't complain about it, just do it. And, that was one of the questions I asked our team at the end of the first game, was, do you think Drake runs in practice? And do you think they have subs? And they all kind of shrunk in their chair and went, And I was like, yeah, they have the same, but they their culture, I mean, they've built such a great culture there that, you know, it's like one in, one out, one in, one out, one in, one out, and they don't lose much. And, you know, that's what we're striving to build here. You know, we just went and ran up against, and we did last year too. I mean, it was the same thing that happened at Drake last year as well. I was just hoping we would take it a little bit better.
Well, and, you know, even though those challenges, and you brought up, you know, of course, against Illinois State, very shorthanded. It was good to see at least Caitlin get some minutes over the weekend and get back when it looked like maybe her injury was a little bit more significant. So at least right now, and Etchie, of course, starting to get some more time, and you're starting to get her back into some rotations, some minutes too. It does seem like that your team, you're starting to get more pieces pieces back and to where you can have more of a complete team when you obviously go up and practice, let alone your games.
Yeah, you know, and that's what we're going to do facing you and I. Obviously, we're all very disappointed. And I mean, no one wants to get, you know, humiliated. And that's kind of what happened. And so, you know, it's going to be, how do we come back from this? Like, what are we going to look like today in practice? And what is our attitude going to be toward that? And are we working to get better? Because, you know, the thing is there's no rest for the weary. I mean, so Drake is a top 100 or top 50 team. UNI is a top 70. We'll just say 75 because it's better than 100. So you got Drake top 75, UNI top 75. Then we play Evansville at Evansville, which, you know, that is going to be a battle for us. Then we're going to play top 25 Missouri State, and then we play top 75 Valpo. And so, you know, you can't sniffle in your cereal. You gotta get it together.
Coach Hall, you know, before we get back into your team in Northern Iowa this weekend, of course, today, Monday, being Martin Luther King Day, and it's always a very important day in our nation's history. And to remember such a influential person in terms of battling race and racial injustices in our country. I think it's very clear we are in a part of our country's history right now where it's almost back in the forefront. And it's been, I know, a major conversation that you've had with your ladies and your team. As we hit today, what are some conversations you've had with your team over the last couple months, really over this last year, that really sit with you today that maybe a year ago on this day that maybe you don't really think about?
You know, I think it's just about, we've just talked about awareness and how to handle and deal with things when people aren't aware. And we are offended, and then how do we handle those things? And then how to help others that might not be aware, how to help educate so we can help the change, and do it in a peaceful manner. You know, and that's what Martin Luther King was all about. He was about doing it peacefully. And, you know, I ultimate respect for his vision, and what he led and still leads to this day.
I know you're proud of all your players and who they are as people and individuals. But to touch up on one specifically, you know, Summer has been a big part with the student athletes here on campus and leading that conversation. How's she been with your team? And also as a coach, what's it mean to see somebody that you know you can count on the floor, but also understands the bigger picture that, yes, it is about winning games. It is about competing for Missouri Valley Conference championships, but also it is bigger than basketball. It's not just about your sport. It is about who you are as individuals when you step outside of the court.
You know, Summer Pitzer is a tremendous young lady. She does it the right way. And she's somebody is, you know, you don't want to always compliment one person all the time, but it's really hard not to with Summer, because she's doing what she needs to do. And, you know, and even when something happens and she doesn't by chance, you talk to her about it and she goes, okay, gotcha, coach. and we're off to the races again. And that's why, you know, she's a great leader for our team. I want her to continue to be more vocal and kind of more demanding from her teammates, which is hard. It's hard. People aren't taught how to be leaders. And that's something that I've been working with Summer on since she's walked in here. And you know, she had some of that coming in, but it was difficult, especially as a freshman, to be able to express herself, because she is kind of quiet natured anyway.
Northern Iowa up next. You already touched up on them. You know, their pace maybe not as quick or as the Drake pace as you saw this past weekend, but the main observations you've had of Northern Iowa in the initial film that you've had on them, Coach Hall.
Well, you know, right now we've been struggling a lot with, you know, and Drake killed us in the paint, 52 points in the paint in the second game. And you know, UNI brings a lot of some similar issues, because you've got Gunnell and you've got Mahaz and you've got Wolf. And so we just have to continue to get better on how we're going to defend in the paint and make these shots that they're getting tougher. And, you know, Tanya does a great job there at UNI as well. She's been there for a long time and she's got her thing rolling as well. So they're going to come, they're going to play 5 out, 4 out. They're going to test our ability to see 2. And then what we're going to need to do, because their defense is pretty stout, we're going to need to be able to go down and after we defend well on one side, we got to go to the other side, be able to execute and knock a shot down.
No question. And a year ago, not very many folks thought you'd have a chance against Northern Iowa at home, and found a way to get the job done. Of course, this year you'll get back-to-back games with them here in Holman Center. Coach Hall, really appreciate the time as always for you hopping on and joining us each and every week. And good luck this week against Northern Iowa.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Appreciate all you that watch. And, you know, sorry you've had to go through that too, but you know, better days are coming. We're going to keep working, and that's what we got to do. Thank you.
No question. For Coach Hall and everybody with Indiana State women's basketball, you've been watching the Indiana State Coaches Show, delivered to you by 7th and Elm Bar and Grill.